Welcome to week 2 of the regular season in the NFL. My name is Sir Grogshire, and once again we're here to predict what games are going to be interesting and what games are going to be utter blowouts, because there's going to be a few of them this week. Well, enough introduction, let's get to the predictions. Tonight on Thursday Night Football, we have the Bucs visiting the Carolina Panthers, and this is one of those that's going to be a blowout. You want to know why? Because Jameis Winston is at quarterback. Nothing else to it. Jameis Winston threw for 3 picks last week, and 2 of them became pick sixes. That's it. That's all you need to know. When Christian McCaffrey's on the field, he ran like a monster last week, and Cam Newton wasn't even a factor. So maybe we see the Panthers actually pass this week instead of running the ball the whole time. If Cam Newton was 100% healthy, they actually had a chance against the Rams. But they're just going to hide it by letting Run CMC go all over everybody. This one, everyone went with the Panthers. No shock there. Going on to the 1 o'clock games, we have our second blowout in a row when we have the Cardinals visiting the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Lamar Jackson apparently got AFC Player of the Week. Well, you have to keep in mind, he played the Dolphins. That in itself is nothing to write home about. Yeah, he went 17 for 20, got a perfect passer rating, and over 300 yards. Well, once again, you played the Dolphins. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals wound up coming back against a Lions team that is lackluster anyway, so that should have happened to begin with. One of 2 teams to go 0-1 in the start of the season this year. The Cardinals should get blown out in this game, and we all have the Ravens anyway, so why the hell not? Moving right along, we have the Cowboys going against the Redskins. Now, this one may wind up being more interesting than people can think of, because once again, Dak Prescott does not have a contract extension yet. So they're still waiting on getting that done. And last week he went for a perfect passer rating, just like Lamar Jackson. And Zeke did alright. He didn't do great, but he did alright. He didn't really need to do all those yards. He just did, about 50? Whereas the Redskins played good one-half football. They were blowing out the Eagles. They let the Eagles get back into it. So, where do the Redskins stand? Who knows. But everyone except for Miles is going with the Cowboys on this one, which is a pretty safe bet. Going to the Colts and Titans game, you have 2 teams that played very well in their opening matchups. And the Colts played a team that we already knew was going to be good, even without Melvin Gordon. But the Colts came in and competed, and then you had Malik Jackson have a one-handed grab and just keep running. Didn't even need to bring in the second hand. That was awesome. T.Y. looking like standard T.Y. That's all you needed to see from the Colts, right? But then you go over to the Titans, and sorry, Odell, but you can't flex on somebody with a $185,000 watch if you can't beat them. Just can't happen, man. But the Titans looked impressive. They were very underhyped according to a lot of the players, and they made the Browns look way overhyped. Derrick Henry played well. Delaney Walker played well. Marcus Mariota did what he needed to. He didn't have to overplay, which is what I think the Titans have been doing the last couple years. The writers at this game are saying it's going to be 50-50 because we haven't really seen enough from both teams to say which one is going to win just based off of week 1. So this is a toss-up for us. Moving on to the fourth 1 o'clock game, you have Seattle versus Pittsburgh. And for Seattle, they played a tough game against a team that they completely shut down the run from. Unfortunately, they didn't expect an quote-unquote average quarterback to throw for 418 yards, throw 51 times, and complete 35 of them. Nobody would have thought about that. And Russell Wilson didn't play a bad game. He just couldn't escape the pocket. And he had 1 touchdown. For fantasy owners, that's the only anger for them. Then you have Pittsburgh. And if you would have said that they would have gone in Gillette Stadium, give up no fight, and only score 3 points, people would have told you you're insane. But the only touchdown that they had was arriving at the airport. And that's it. Ben Roethlisberger didn't look good. Juju went down with a toe injury in the 4th quarter. Pittsburgh could not get anything going. Just like there was no movement from the center when he didn't snap the ball. Our line on this is more of us are leaning towards the Steelers. You actually have 5 versus 3. Whereas the 3 of us going Seahawks, we think that defense is going to improve and pretty much do the same plan that they had against the Bengals. Moving right along to New York, where Buffalo has yet to leave. Well, I mean, Buffalo's in New York, but they're playing in the same stadium as they did in Week 1. Go figure. But the Bills are coming off an incredible win versus the Jets last week, where they had to come back basically 17 points. They had 17 unanswered points in the 4th, and Josh Allen in that 4th quarter looked pretty good, especially when you have John Brown going on deep routes and shaking off his cornerback. That's a good story right there. But then you have the Giants, who looked like garbage versus the Cowboys. Which, I mean, I understand. It's the Cowboys. But when you have to bring in your rookie Daniel Jones, and on his first drive, he fumbles the ball because he's trying to do too much, might want to teach him not to do that. On this line, we have the Bills. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, but the Bills are going to win. Sorry. If you go in before the season and ask any expert if this game was going to be interesting, they would have told you, hell no. Because the 49ers are going to blow out the Bengals because the Bengals aren't even going to compete. But they also said that for the Bengals versus the Seahawks. And the Bengals went toe-to-toe in Seattle versus the Seahawks, where Andy Dalton went 35 for 51 for 418 yards, who is now the current passing leader of the league with no run game, and John Ross of all people getting 158 yards of that. No AJ Green. He is still in rehab for his foot injury. Joe Mixon is expected to play, so luckily the MRI came back negative and it's just a sprain. For the 49ers though, Jimmy G threw for 1 interception. That's not too bad. But once again, you go to the team that they were playing the Bucs. It's the Bucs. We have them slated to lose their division. No competition there. In this game, actually only 3 people are going for the Bengals. The rest of everyone is going with the 49ers. This is basically a Super Bowl rematch from the 80s. 2 Super Bowl rematches, might I add. So who's going to get the upper hand in the season? Well, they're either going to go 1-1, 0-2, and 2-0. I guess we'll have to see with this game. As we keep trucking on, we have the still Melvin Gordon-less Chargers versus the why did you blow that game Lions. With the Chargers and Lions, there's really not much to talk about. Austin Eckler looked fantastic. Phillip Rivers still looked like Phillip Rivers. And on the other side, Matt Patricia is still struggling to finish a game. And Matthew Stafford looks like Matthew Stafford. Not much else to report here. We've got the Chargers winning, except for Miles. Miles has the Lions. Miles just feels like being a lone wolf this week. Now we travel to Minnesota for a rivalry that spanned decades. Brett Favre has been in this rivalry, and he's a big reason why this rivalry is more heated than it should be. You have Green Bay and the Vikings. Now, Green Bay had the Thursday night football game last week. They had the long week, so they've been able to prepare a little bit longer. So you'd think that they have the edge in this game. Well, Green Bay's defense looked pretty good against the Bears, where the Bears just struggled to get things going, and their offense looked bad. That's going to be the problem, because the Vikings looked like a complete team last week. I know they can be hot and cold because Kirk Cousins didn't throw that much, But Dalvin Cook looked like a star. He didn't have to throw much, which is the reason why they did so well. But then the Vikings defense did really good. So, what's our line on this game? 5 of us versus 3. Most of us are going with the Vikings in this game. But Brock, Tolles, and Harden, they're going with the Pack. For the second to last 1 o'clock game, we have the Jags going on the road to Texas to face the Texans. And unfortunately, Nick Foles is now out until maybe December, which is his best month according to stats. So as long as the Jags can keep their record in contention, they could possibly make the playoffs, but we'll see. But in the meantime, they have to trust a guy named Gardner Minshew. I don't know anything about him, I'll be perfectly honest. But one thing I do know is the Texans looked fantastic versus the Saints last week. And the Texans are going to have the short week because they played on Monday. I don't think it's going to matter. With the line on this game, we've got everyone taking the Texans. We don't think this is going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I'm going to say probably by at least 2 touchdowns. Do I actually have to report this game? I do. But the Dolphins are going to get killed. Yeah, it's not even going to be close. Do you see what the Patriots did to the Steelers last week? Do you see what the Ravens did to the Dolphins? Screw it. Yeah, if you have to ask, the Patriots are going to fucking win this game. There's no question about it. If you think that the Dolphins are going to win against the Patriots, you're nuts. Or you're a troll. So, yeah, this is going to be a blowout. There's no questions about it. Moving to our 4:05 game, we have the Chiefs traveling to Oakland to face the Raiders. This one is going to be interesting because you got 2 1-0 teams. You have the Chiefs without Tyreek Hill for a couple weeks, and you have a Raiders team who battled a very decent Broncos org, but the Raiders just killed it. They looked good. Josh Jacobs ran for quite a few yards. Derek Carr looked accurate. Vontaze Burfict looked good on defense and not in trouble. But right now, if there's anywhere I wouldn't want to be playing, it's probably Oakland because of the whole toxicity of the whole AB situation. As you can hear them chanting, "Fuck AB" during a field goal attempt. And you also have those diehard Oakland fans that aren't ready for their team to move to Vegas. Because this is possibly the last season that a lot of them are going to be seeing their team. Unless they travel. But it's the Chiefs. So you got to keep that in mind. Sammy Watkins looked great. Patrick Mahomes missed an open pass by trying to do a no-looker to Travis Kelce. But other than that, he looked good. He looked like Patrick Mahomes. Nobody's going with the Raiders on this one because of the whole line of it's the Chiefs. Nice try, though. If you had to ask me, this is the best game of the week. You have an NFC Championship rematch that a lot of people are going to be very pissed off about. You have the Saints versus the Rams. This time, though, it's in LA. What I found absolutely hysterical is during the Saints-Texans game, I would say probably about a fourth, if not a sixth, of the audience in attendance were wearing ref jerseys because of the whole situation that happened in the NFC Championship game. The one thing that I'll say about that is there were missed penalties throughout that game. That was not the only missed one. It was a big missed one, but it wasn't the one that probably decided the outcome. The thing that decided the outcome is Drew Brees fumbling and the Rams recovering. That's what decided that game. Moving on, though, the Rams looked pretty good, especially the defense. The defense looked pretty good. Jared Goff didn't have to do much. Todd Gurley didn't have to do much. They say he's good, but he didn't run seriously until the fourth quarter, and all of the goal line picks were done by somebody else. Whereas Drew Brees did Drew Brees things, and Will Lutz did Will Lutz things. Alvin Kamara did Alvin Kamara things. You expected the Saints to do well in that game, whereas you expected the Rams to struggle against the Panthers. This one was a tough one to pick, but we did 5-3, 5 people taking the Saints and 3 people taking the Rams, me included. Miles and Duckworth, we all took the Rams in this one. With the other 425 game, there's really not too much to say other than the Bears looked like shit, the Broncos looked like shit, other than Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. That's beside the point. Both teams need a redemption game, and this could be it. The Bears have a lot more potential than they showed versus the Packers, but to be fair, that defense held the Packers to 10 points. Plain and simple. Whereas the Broncos let the Raiders stomp all over them. It didn't even matter what they did. There was terrible play calling. The offense couldn't get moving other than Philip Lindsay. The defense, once again, other than Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, couldn't stop anyone. It was embarrassing. The line on this game is everyone except for Miles is taking the Bears. This is a redemption game for Mitch Trubisky. If he does not perform in this game, you better bet the Bears are going to be looking for a QB in next year's draft. Going to Sunday night primetime, we have the Eagles versus the Falcons. Let's start with the Eagles on this one. If you would have told me that the Redskins were going to give them a run for their money last week, I would have told you no way. But the Redskins controlled a whole half of that game. And the Eagles had to play catch up the entire second half, which they did. They covered extremely well. If you would have given me the second half Eagles in the first half, that game would have been a whole nother situation. But the Eagles looked good. D-Jax is back. Alshon Jeffrey looked good. The run game looked good. Carson Wentz looked like a beast again when perfectly healthy. Now let's go to the Falcons. You fool me once, Julio. Shame on you. Fool me twice, Julio. Shame on you. If they try that same crap this game with seconds to spare, trying to hit Julio for a touchdown and he lets it go through his arms again, there's a problem and you should not throw it to Julio with the game on the line for a touchdown. That's beside the point. Last week versus the Vikings, the Falcons couldn't do anything. They scored 12 points. And that is mainly because the offensive line sucked monkey doo-doo. Monkey doo-doo? Monkey and a donkey. Sure. Whatever. But the Falcons couldn't get anything going. Matt Ryan looked like normal Matt Ryan from years ago before he was an NFL MVP and almost a Super Bowl champion. But we won't talk about that. Nobody should talk about that. Patriots fans only. But there's a lot going into this game because the Falcons really need a bounce back. Unfortunately, I personally don't think it's going to happen versus the Eagles. Us at Unfiltered, we're very split on this because we don't know which Falcons team is going to show up. Me, Miles, Pulisic, and Harden are all going with the Eagles. 2 of those people are Eagles riders, so calm down. Then Brock Toll-Smith and Duckworth, they're going with the Falcons. 2 of them are Cowboys riders. Imagine why they're not voting for the Eagles. But this is a game that the Eagles cannot lose. They need to stay ahead of the Cowboys. Plain and simple. Monday Night Football. They could have picked any team for Monday Night Football, and they choose this. From what Week 1 has shown us, it is the overhyped Browns that decides to flex on an opponent by wearing a $185,000 watch and can't win, versus the Jets, who blew a 16-point lead. This is very, how do I put it, stupid. This is a very stupid Monday Night Football game. If you would have told me this game was at 1 o'clock on Sunday, that's fine. This is a stupid primetime game, and it's because of the Browns' overhypeness and the whole Le'Veon Bell situation in New York. That's all this game was going to be. But the Browns, on their side, they need to bounce back after being embarrassed by the Titans, after being overhyped the entire offseason. I know I was on the train for the hype too, but after that, if they do not get their crap together, this is going to be a long season for Browns fans. Now going to New York. Sam Darnold didn't do bad. Le'Veon Bell didn't do bad. You want to know what did do bad? The Jets defense. The Jets defense is what really let them down. And of course, after scoring the 16 points, only 6 of those coming in the first half, the offense couldn't get anything going to capitalize. And the defense couldn't do anything to stop Josh Allen and squad from getting 17 unanswered points. They have to improve on that defense to stop the Browns this week. That is 100% fact. Once again, we're split right down the middle for this. You have Tolles, Smith, Pulisic, and Duckworth going with the Browns. You have me, Brock, and Miles, and Harden going with the Jets. The only reason I went with the Jets is because the Jets are at home. I see potential in Le'Veon Bell going for miles in this run game for the Jets this week because the Browns defense did not look good at all versus the Titans, and they let Derrick Henry run all over them. Credit to Derrick Henry, but that was bad. Go Jets. Here's the updated predictions sheet. If you really wanted to know who's in the lead for us in our predictions, this is what's going on. So you have me, Brock, and Harden all tied for first at 12-3-1. Thanks, Lions and Cardinals. You have Pulisic and you have Duckworth coming up the rear at 11-4-1. Once again, thanks, Cardinals and Lions. You have Miles in third, and Tolles and Smith are coming right up the rear. And the only reason why Smith is at 9-6-1 is because he didn't submit his predictions in time. So he has some catching up to do. For all of us here at Unfiltered, my name is Sir Grogshire, or Kyle Grogan if you want to call me that. And I am the Bengals writer for Unfiltered Sports Network, along with the new video manager for the network itself. And I will see you for week 2. I'll be at the Bengals 49ers game, so if you want to tweet me at Sir Grogshire during the game, feel free to. That's going to do it for this video, and I hope your week 2 is just as exciting as I hope this video is. See ya.